this. After the Seahawks lost to the Rams, Pete Carroll made it clear that the Seahawks needed to focus more on running the ball effectively to set up their passing game for Russell Wilson, something he didn't feel like Seattle did well in the second half of the season. So, Shannon, how much is Russ to blame for this move?
Russ got to blow a lot of the blame. Skip, each of the past 3 seasons, the first half MVP has been Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Each of the year Patrick Mahomes won it, at the halfway point, Russ was in the lead. Last year when Lamar Jackson run it, Russ was in the lead.
He was.
This year, Russ was in the lead.
Good point.
And all he patting, let Russ cook. Well, Russ burned the damn groceries. That's what Russ did. Call it like you see it. Man, we got to stop blaming all these coaches for everything. Russ failed. When you look at this, you look at what he did. Yeah. Now, he talking about they need to run the ball. Seattle was 6th in rushing average, 4.8 a carry. They was 12th in rushing yards, 123. But what about those interceptions? Russ threw 9 interceptions in those 5 losses.
Yep.
And a lot of them were horrible. Threw another one last week. DK Metcalf had to call 1,300 yards, which was the most in Seattle history.
Yep.
Tyler Lockett had 100 catches, the most in Seattle history. So we just gonna blame Brian Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer ain't gonna get no credit. He get all the blame. He let Russ cook. Russ burned the dinner. That's what he did. Call it what it is, Skip. Russ didn't play well each of the last 3 second halves. Russ gonna have to show that he can win a playoff game without the Legion of Boom intact.
Yep.
And he hasn't played well in none of the playoff games. Go back and look at the Dallas game. He didn't play well.
He played okay, but he didn't play MVP standard.
Right.
Yes, I agree.
Look at this year.
Yep.
In this playoff game, did he play well?
No, it was his worst.
So at some point in time,
He's lost 3 of his last 4, and what was the one he won at Philadelphia when Carson Wentz got hurt in like 3 plays, right?
Yes.
Remember?
That was it. At some point in time, I understand Russ is a great guy, been around him a couple of times, but we're going to have to play some criticism. We're going to have to start critiquing him like we do these other quarterbacks because he wants to be considered one of these franchise quarterbacks. Well, you can't get all credit like a franchise quarterback with no blame like a franchise quarterback. Russ got to bear a lot of the responsibility on this failed season and these failed seasons because I thought Brian Schottenheimer did a great job of putting Russ in position. Russ was the MVP 3 first halves, and for whatever reason, the interception rate went up, the turnovers went up, and they went down.
So remember the preseason top 100 voted upon by the NFL players?
Yes.
Remember what happened at the top as they were about to unveil 2 and then 1?
Right.
They had, I think, Jerry Rice, some other ex-players making the case that Russell Wilson is the best player in this league.
Right.
And he was sort of 1A because he was number 2 to Lamar, who was number 1. Patrick Mahomes was like 4th behind Aaron Donald at 3.
Yes.
Okay. I say going into next year when they vote, I don't think Russell's going to be vying for number 1.
Right.
He's going to be lucky to be in the top 5. But his first half this year was number 1.
Yes.
He was the best. And this offense was by far the best offense for half a year.
Right.
Well, that's pretty great, right? Then what happened? I can't quite put my finger on it, but he just didn't play very well. And I thought Pete Carroll had the most interesting and I think sort of pertinent theory was that we threw so deep, so successfully, so often through the first 8, 9 games that teams started to play us deeper and deeper, saying, we will not let you have this anymore. And they kept trying to beat you deep.
Right.
And he said we had things underneath, but they just try to bleed us and make us have to throw the ball underneath, which they don't do very patiently and successfully.
Skip, the ball is in the quarterback's hand. Skip, I call a play. Now, the play is meant to go deep. And what Tom Brady understands, well, hell, I ain't finna keep throwing to Mike Evans and get this ball picked. Let me take Leonard Fournette in the flat. Let me take this tight end on the shallow. Let me take this underneath stuff. Okay, Russ.
Well, why is Tom Brady the GOAT?
Right.
Because he did a whole lot of that.
Skip, we watched him on Sunday night. Remember that game against Arizona?
Yeah.
When Russ kept throwing interception, that game was supposed to have been won. And he threw interception after interception after interception. And then we see what happened. The Giants go up there and beat the brakes off him.
They did. Yep.
So we saw what Russ did in Buffalo. Interception after interception. Hey, come on now.
Close game, though.
Yes.
And by the way, the bottom line was still pretty good. They went 12-4 and they won the West.
Yes.
okay?
12, Skip, 12, just think about this. The guy went 12-4, had Russ in the MVP conversation every single year, and the man lose his job. Russ had his best 3 years.
And then he posted about Brian Schottenheimer, and they were very, very close, according to this social post.
Yeah.
Shotty, he called him, so grateful for how much you mean to me. God blessed me with you. We won a lot of games, threw a lot of touchdowns, had a blast in meetings and our Bible studies. Best days are ahead for you. Well, it's almost like you needed one more line of, I'm sorry I did this to you, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I couldn't live up to what you did for me, right? Because in the end, the ball's in his hands. And I believe the whole idea of let Russ cook, that he tried to live up to that by trying to throw it farther and farther. And remember, against the Rams the other day, he was 11 for 27, had his worst QBR in a playoff game of 18, but he made one hellacious great throw, rolling to his left,
hit DK.
And DK got behind the safety. Well, that was vintage Russell Wilson.
I think look, their running back situation, Skip, has been flux. I mean, the guys can't stay healthy. Chris Carson's been nicked up. I think Carlos Hyde is also there. He's been nicked up. But their
run game was consistently decent.
Yeah,
it was decent. Yeah.
They need a tight end.
Well, and Greg Olsen, remember, maybe that's the key to the demise, was Greg Olsen got hurt at midseason. They put him on IR, and he came back late and did nothing.
No.
And he's our guy here at Fox. And will this be the end of that? Yep. Yeah. He'll come to us, right? Okay.
The other guy, Skip, no. They need a tight end. They need a tight end that can handle the underneath stuff, the shallow cross, the mid-level stuff. So that way, and plus, I understand DK is fast and big, but you don't always have to throw it to him deep, Skip. I understand that, once he gets ahead of steam and he's not the greatest route runner, because a man that size, it takes a lot for him to decelerate and to get in and out of breaks.
Yep.
But Skip, you got to run something other than post and go routes with him.
Yep. And the one quote-unquote short pass that Russ threw the other day was the sort of wide receiver screen pass. Yeah. And
he got ready.
Gone.
Yeah. But see, if you study, okay, I'm looking at the sideline. I see the guy get frustrated. Oh, they're going to try to get him the ball. They're probably going to try to get him the ball here. Now, in this formation, they're probably going to run the screen. They like to run, boom.
Boom.
I mean, Skip, that's what you do. You look for tendencies. A receiver getting upset of that caliber. What do they normally try to do, Skip, on the next possession? We got to try to get him the ball. They're probably going to try to get him the ball here. Now, what do they like to run in this situation?